Hello, my name is Vironika Niharosev, and I will be discussing the case of Moge v. Moge. It is a 1992 Supreme Court decision, and some of the takeaways from this case are as follows: that entering into a new relationship post-marriage no longer necessarily ends spousal support. Spousal support may still be attained even without children, and traditional stay-at-home parents are likely to get spousal support. Let's get into the facts of this case. So the spouses were married in 1950 and had 3 children. They were married in Poland before they arrived to Manitoba in 1960. The wife was a teacher and worked part-time as a cleaner, and she was also responsible for childcare and the household duties. However, throughout their 16-year marriage, while the husband had worked full-time outside the home as a welder, he made no contribution to the work of the household or the care of the children. The spouses separated in 1973 and divorced in 1980. The wife was awarded $150 per month in spousal support and had custody of the children. The husband remarried but continued spousal support. Unfortunately, the wife was laid off in 1987, and the husband's spousal support increased to $400 per month. The wife then later secured part-time and intermittent cleaning work. And in 1989, Mr. Moge applied to vary or terminate his support obligations to his wife. The trial judge held that the former wife had time to become financially independent and that her husband had supported her as long as required. The Court of Appeal set aside the judgment and ordered spousal support in the amount of $150 per month for an indefinite period of time. Now, the issue is whether the wife is entitled to ongoing support for an indefinite period of time, or whether the spousal support should be terminated. The reasoning, according to the majority, is as follows. The Supreme Court rejected determining spousal support on the basis of the reasoning in Pellick, Caron, and Richardson, the trilogy cases, but instead determined spousal support on the principles of the 1985 Divorce Act. The trilogy cases only refer to parties who decide to settle their affairs by agreement. These cases should not be applied to non-consensual situations. In the circumstances of spousal support for Mr. Moge, there was no agreement between the husband and the wife. The court rejected that self-sufficiency model is the only basis for spousal support. The criteria of self-sufficiency is only one of the 4 objectives under sections 15.7 and 17.7 of the Divorce Act, and self-sufficiency does not have priority over the other objectives. The Supreme Court reasoned that divorce and its economic effects are playing a role in the feminization of poverty in Canada, and that therefore there is a need for flexibility and fairness. The intention of Parliament in enacting the Act was not to penalize women. The court recognized a compensatory model as principle with legislative support under the Act. The purpose of this model is as follows. The purpose of spousal support is to provide compensation for a spouse's sacrifices and contributions during the marriage and to deal with the economic consequences arising from marriage breakdown. A detailed inquiry of losses and gains in the marriage is not necessary, and self-sufficiency, while a relevant factor, is not the primary objective, but instead compensation is. Additionally, the Act seeks to recognize and account for both the economic disadvantages incurred by the spouse who makes sacrifices and the economic advantages conferred upon the other spouse. As marriage is regarded as a joint endeavor, the longer the relationship endures and the closer the economic union, the greater the presumptive claim to equal standards of living upon its dissolution. Marriage per se does not automatically entitle a spouse to support. The Supreme Court relied on judicial discretion and principles of compensatory model to examine all 4 objectives set out in section 17.7 in order to achieve equitable sharing of the economic consequences of marriage or its breakdown. The court held that spousal support should be continued based on the 4 objectives in section 17.7 of the 1985 Divorce Act. Specifically, that 1. The wife had sustained a substantial economic disadvantage from the marriage or its breakdown. 2. The wife's long-term responsibility for the upbringing of the children of the marriage after the spousal separation in 1973 has had an impact on her ability to earn income. Thirdly, the wife continues to suffer economic hardship as a result of the breakdown of her marriage. And lastly, the wife has failed to become economically self-sufficient, notwithstanding her conscientious efforts. The court held that the husband should continue paying spousal support at $150 per month to the wife. Now, the case can be located on CanLII, and the citation is as follows. Thank you.